Hi folks, and a very warm welcome back to my channel. Well, as you can see behind me, with a bit of luck, finally here in the southeast of England, spring has sprung, at least temporarily. The temperature's clawed its way up to the sort of low teens at the moment, and we're getting a few sunny days and, more importantly, some clear nights. Some of the nights recently that it's been clear, there's been a big moon out, so that's kind of not much good for what I wanted to do with my telescope. But at the moment the moon's a little bit out the way, so I'm hoping tonight to get out with my telescope for a few hours. It's due to cloud over about midnight, I think, and gets dark around 7:30. So I'm hoping to get maybe 3 hours in. And at this time of year, from my location at least, it's known as Galaxy season, and the reason for that is that the view outwards from the Earth is, instead of going into our own Milky Way galaxy where we see all the nebula and that sort of stuff, we look outside our galaxy into what's basically vast emptiness, and that enables us to pick out other galaxies. And the target that I'm after tonight is a very popular one called the Leo Triplet, and it's in Leo obviously, and it sits towards Leo's kind of hindquarters, a little bit below the Lion. So yeah, hopefully you'll join me tonight. My name's John and I make videos on camping, walking and astronomy. If you like what you see in this video, then please check my channel out, as you may find others that interest you there. But in the meantime, let's crack on with this video. So the Leo Triplet then is basically a grouping of 3 galaxies, and these galaxies, they're all spiral galaxies like our own Milky Way, but the way they present themselves to us, or the way they're oriented to us, they all present a slightly different aspect. One of them's more edge on, the other one's tilted quite well towards us, and one only slightly tilted towards us. So they all kind of look different shapes. They are interacting with each other, which causes some distortion, so they're not actually perfect spirals, but they make a cracking target, particularly for a smaller telescope where you can get all 3 within the same field of view. The telescope I'm using tonight is the William Optics Redcat 51, and these things are easily put within the field of view of that scope. In actual fact, this scope's probably not ideal because the target's very small, but I do find I can blow these things up quite well. I'm using my go-to mount, my Skywatcher EQM 35. I could use the Star Adventurer mount, but you spend a little bit more time faffing about trying to find your target, whereas with the go-to mount, you just tell it where you want to point it and off it goes. So because I've got limited time tonight, I'm going to use the bigger, heavier mount. So yeah, once hopefully the sky behind me, which has got high thin cloud at the moment, clears, I shall drag my stuff outside and see what I can do. So yeah, I'll catch you later.
You're like a river in the dark. You stare me right, you lit the spark, and I can feel you tearing down every wall. Come one, come all. You're like an early morning breeze. Your soft red lips and gentle tease. You must have been sent just for me.
Well, the good news is that it's another nice day again today. It's a bit cloudy out back there, as you can probably see still, but the temperature's nice and warm. So I've just been out for a nice bike ride, seen some bluebells, stopped at a Portuguese cafe and had some nice Portuguese pastry. Not had it before. It was really, really nice. So that's the good news. The bad news is that, as ever, things don't quite go to plan. Last night, once I set my exposures off, I pop in and out every half an hour or so just to see how things are getting on. And after 90 minutes, I went out and everything was tickety-boo. And when I went out half an hour later, after 2 hours, I found it had pretty well clouded over since I last went out. So all the exposures for that period were duff. About an hour later, it cleared up, and the problem there was that the bit of sky that I was aiming for had moved across a bit too close to a street lamp that's at the back of my garden, and that meant that everything was washed out, so there was no point in trying to image in that area at all. So what I did then was, rather than call it a day, I thought that I'd aim at a different part of the sky that was now more or less the same position that I started at when I was aiming at the Leo triplet. And this part of sky contains the Virgo galaxy clusters. And in this particular part of sky, there are, in a fairly small area in the constellation Virgo, literally hundreds of galaxies that you typically only really get to see, certainly from my location, at this time of year. There's a really famous part of the Virgo galaxy cluster called Macarian's Chain, which I did a video on last year, I think. But this particular bit of the Virgo cluster was still behind some trees. So I just randomly aimed at the kind of upper part of the cluster, which contains still shed loads of galaxies, and three kind of quite biggish ones in particular, which reside under the names of Messier 98, Messier 99 and Messier 100. So having done my processing then, what did I make of the results? Well, the Leo triplet, I got in the end 90 minutes of worth of 90-second exposures, which was nowhere near as long as I was hoping for, but nonetheless is enough to work with. And so I processed that, got a nice wide field view image, which I'll put up now. And yeah, I'm quite pleased with this because you can see the colours of the stars in the surrounding areas coming through really well. I think the Redcat scope did a good job at keeping those star colours. So yeah, I'm very pleased with that, and I'll show you a kind of cropped in version at the end of this video. And the other shot that I took of the area in the Virgo galaxy cluster, the wide field image that comes straight off the scope isn't hugely exciting. What's interesting about it really is that each of the white blobs that you can see in this image that I've just put up now represents a galaxy around the size of our own, sitting something like I think 50 to 60 million light years away. And in this particular image, there's about 25 galaxies, I think. So that's sort of an interesting thing in its own right. But the image was actually good enough to crop in. And again, at the end of the video, I'll show cropped in versions of the Galaxies M98, M99 and M100. And considering I only actually got 25 minutes exposure on this subject before the clouds came in for good, yeah, I'm sort of overall quite pleased with that really. So yeah, kind of it didn't go to plan yesterday, but still managed to get something out of it. So I'm going to put those images up now. I hope you like them, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Cheerio.